Hi, today I'm going to talk about my window structure in Unity. So let's start with hierarchy. The hierarchy window is over here with the inspector clustered together with the project and inspector because we have we're going to have a lot of drag and drop operations between these windows. We're gonna have a lot of drag and drop operations from hierarchy to inspector, from project to inspector, from project to hierarchy, right? A lot of drag and drop operations. We also are going to have drag and drop operations when we are making prefabs like this, right? To project window. So this is why it's a good idea to make them like close to each other um, and not having huge distances between them like in the default Unity layout. So this is why they're like close together. And scene window is over here. Let's talk about the placement of the scene, the position of the scene window. It's because the project window is over here, and we're gonna have like drag and drop operations to here, here, and here, right? And we're gonna have uh, these a lot. So this is actually why the project window and scene window has these relative positions, I guess, because we're gonna have lots of uh, operations from project to scene view. And let's talk about scene window's size, right? It is occupying the most space. This is because we are going to have lots of visual debugging and placement operations, or like rotation, placement, things like that, over here in the scene window. So this is why it's a good idea to have your scene window as big as possible, right? Because you're going to not only you're going to use this for placement, but you're going to use this for debugging reasons for also. Maybe you're going to just look at the scene and see if your AI's animations are uh, working correctly, if your AIs are going to the right place or wrong place. Maybe you have a physics simulation and some sort of simulation, and you want to check if it is working correctly. And underneath it, we have console. This is because when we know something is not going in the right way from the scene view, we want to like go deeper, right? And we want to check our logs that are displayed here in the console. Maybe we have errors, maybe we have warnings, or maybe we have like situational, like custom logs that we set up in our code. So we want to check those and see what sort of problem we have, or maybe not even a problem. Maybe we want to see if everything is working correctly. Maybe we put a log for confirmation of something that is working correctly. We want to see that also. We have another inspector window over here because maybe we want to uh, lock one of them and just drag and drop some like items group of selection to a list. We can do that. Or maybe we just want to lock this and see this always while we are debugging our game, while we are testing our game, and see what we click on over here or over here. So this is why we have two inspectors. And also another reason for that is because of our current setup over here, the inspector has limited size, right? And we may want to see the inspector as long as possible because we may have complex game objects that have lots of components, lots of values, right? We want to see all of these values and all of these components as easy as possible. So this is why we have a longer version of the inspector over here. And we have a lot of we have a game window over here. This is because we may when we are in the early development stages of a mechanic or maybe a scene or something like that, and we just want to see uh, like the scene and the console and the inspector, and just give our appropriate inputs over here, and just let the game run and see everything is working correctly and just debug. So this is not for playing our game. This is just for like debugging reasons, using this game window uh, for debugging reasons really. This is why we have like small version of game window. And we have lighting tab and services over here. The reason we have lighting tab over here is that not because lighting is good over here, right? Not because services is good here. It's because we are never going to have lighting tab and game window open at the same time. These two or these two open at the same time. We're never going to need that. So actually this is a good way of thinking. If you have like custom windows or something like that, think about what you're going to need at the same time and dock it as a tab to that point, right? That placement. So things like that you can like think about. If you think about it, I am always going to need hierarchy, inspector, and project open at the same time, because I'm going to have like related operations between them, right? I'm going to drag from hierarchy to project, so they have to open at the same. They have to be open at the same time. Uh, so this is why we have lighting and services over here. We have a game window, another game window. This is for late uh, stages of development, when you just want to know how your game feels, right? You just want to see the logs and just play your game and see how the all the mechanics feel together. Maybe like some sort of like UI testing or something. You can do that over here. If your game is mobile, you can just set it to mobile aspect and just try it over here like that. We have audio mixer over here because the thing is, audio mixer actually stacks the mixer groups horizontally. So we want to see all of these, the most highest number of audio groups as possible, right? We want to see all of them as possible, so this is why we have audio mixer uh, added as a tab over here. And animation is self-explanatory. When we are going to make animations, we also want to see the objects in the scene and how it is animating, right? How it is looking. So this is why we have it over here. And let me talk about the project structure also. The project structure, we have art folder, we have main library, project library, and temp folder. Art folder we are using for if you were working with a artist group, a group of artists, you would want them to have their own space and just like separate it from the other like programming related stuff, right? They just want to deal with animations, materials, models, prefabs. You can have these like folders as many as possible, as many as you need. Sorry, uh, based on your like structure of company, I guess, maybe structure of the team, Maybe you have like level design team, and you could have a design folder over here, I guess. If your art group is making scenes also, like environment scenes, that means you're going to work additively loaded scenes, then you can have also scenes over here. And main library, we have two different folders here, dependent and independent. Dependent means that I can just drag and drop this to another project and everything inside it will just work. Uh, the main library is actually about things that you can reuse in another project, right? Things that are not related to this single project. Let's say you are making a spaceship game. It's not related to spaceship, right? You can just use it in another, let's say, fantasy game, or um, I don't know, another action game. So if you have components or systems for like that, you can just store them over here as systems or components or something like that. Or maybe you have extensions, utility code, or components that work with everything or something like that. You can just store them over here. The independent I talked about. Dependent is when you have like different assets, third-party assets, and when you extend them, you store them over here if they are reusable, right? I am using Flow Canvas, and I have like lots of nodes that I can reuse in another project. Those nodes I store them over here in here. And if you have like duty bean stuff or something like that, you can just store. This goes for any project. I'm sorry, any asset. In this project library, we talked about our project is spaceship, right? Any spaceship related stuff goes here. Like nodes, maybe you just made like enter the spaceship node or something like that, or spaceship controller mono behavior that goes to scripts over here, because you're not going to copy that to another project. It's just going to be available in here and meaningful in here in this project where there's a spaceship. So that's why we have like project library, and this is how we use them. And so you can have like as many um, folders as you need. I personally want to have my scriptable objects over here, and based on their type, I like to make subfolders. Um, Shaders, maybe you have like game, um, maybe you have like mechanic related shaders. I don't know. Maybe art is not using that. You can store that in here project library. In the temp folder, we have like prototype stuff. Maybe your like I always use these colors in when I'm making or testing a project at the early stages. So I have them set it up, and I just drag and drop, and I just test how everything is working. And I'm not never going to use these materials in the end project. So this is why they're in the temp folder. I'm never gonna use this my temp script again. I'm never gonna use this in an end project. If I'm just testing out a script or testing out like combination of code in a script, I want to test it out. Just test it out and just see how it works. If it works, I do that over here and store it in the temp scripts folder. So this is all I wanted to talk about. Hope you enjoyed it.